everyone, Lady Sapphire here. Today we're going to do a quick video on healthy communication, how to properly communicate with our partners, how to communicate our feelings, because sometimes that's the hardest thing to get to, is just what are we actually feeling, and how do we let our partners know that without possibly causing conflict or minimizing our partner's feelings and needs. So I hope you enjoy. Without further ado, here we go. So I have mentioned communication a lot throughout my videos. I do mention it in context to the kinks, how to communicate with the kinkster, how to communicate if you're not a kinkster. I've discussed this before. But I really wanted to get into how do we identify our feelings and communicate them to our partners. So when we're dealing with frustration and anger or sadness, there's always a reason for it. There's always some kind of underlying surface dweller going on there to cause problems. And typically, when we're discussing this with sexuality, it's a very touchy subject. People will kind of go, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to bring it up to my partner. I don't want to mention, because either I don't want to emasculate my partner, I don't want to effeminate my partner, I don't want to make them feel bad because it's my problem, but it's not. When you're dealing with a relationship, it's both of your problems. If one is upset that they're not getting what they need, it's both of you are going to be upset until it's dealt with, because the partner upset isn't going to be at their best, and the one who isn't upset is going to be confused. Like, what did I do? What's going on? Is it me? Which is actually more damaging than if we just discuss it. So if you're in a point where, for example, you're not quite sure what you need, or there's just something missing, then don't be afraid to just kind of mention it to your partner. Like, I'm not feeling quite satisfied after the session. I could use a little bit more of this, or I could use a little bit more of that, or do you mind if I do this? Whatever the case might be, your partner will be more thankful that you just brought it to their attention and discussed it than if you keep it all bottled up and then both of you are miserable because you don't know what's going on. Now, I do understand some people just don't know what's missing. They don't know how to express what's going on, and that's fine. A great way to kind of deal with that is reading, watching movies or videos, whatever, stuff like this can help. Getting to know yourself in a real way makes a huge difference, which is also why I've always broadcasted the self-love and self-understanding before we move into a relationship. That way we know what we want. We know how to communicate that to our partners. But not everyone's so lucky. Many people end up in relationships long before they've had a chance to know who they are or what they like. It happens. So if you are in one of these situations, don't be afraid to just go to your local library and wander through the romance section. Kind of read the backs. See if anything catches your interest. You'd be amazed. There's all these different writers out there with all these different perspectives that can give us such an insight into ourselves. You might read something and it'll just trigger you and you'll be like, ooh, well, that sounds exciting. And then maybe it'll give you some ideas as you read. But don't be afraid to do it. Also, watching videos such as mine, watching porn, that kind of stuff can help. However, I do have a warning in the porn world, and that is that porn is not the best resource for anybody. Now, if you have a kink and you're watching specifically to your kink stuff, it's a little bit different. But if you're just wandering through the porn world, it can get terrifying. It can get overwhelming. And you might still not get any help to what you actually want and need. So that is another resource. If you're too afraid at first to bring it to your partner, you can reach out to books, to videos, to whatever, to kind of expand your brain, because sometimes you don't know what you want because you don't know what's out there. So get a grasp at what's out there. What is kind of the norm? What's the abnorm? and then see where you fit on that spectrum, because everyone falls under the spectrum. I don't think there's anyone out there who's just strictly vanilla, who has no interest in anything but just straight sex. And if they are, it's because they haven't been exposed to the other sides of sexuality. So they haven't learned that there can be other aspects that are fun. It doesn't have to be just about the sex. It can be about the fun and the exploration and the investigation of your partner and just getting to know each other. That is just as stimulating as sex itself. People don't always credit that. People tend to think, oh, it's just about this. It's not. It has so much more to do with the emotional, mental, and physical embodiment of oneself more than just straight sex. Because if you're just doing straight sex, it can be great, don't get me wrong, quickies can be fun, but they're not what keeps a relationship strong and together. They're just what can quickly motivate along the way. There still has to be those times where you reconnect sexually and physically and emotionally that has nothing to do with just straight up intercourse. So don't be afraid to ask your partner even for exploration. If you're not comfortable going to read books or watch videos, then at least let your partner know that you're lacking satisfaction and that you need help with that. There's nothing wrong with that. As it sits, only 10% of women have ever actually experienced an orgasm, which is a sad, sad number. It's depressing to me to know that there are so many women out there that have never fully experienced what sexuality can offer. So make sure you let your partner know. And if it's something you've never done, it's not a shame to your partner. It really isn't. If they're acting that way, then they're immature. It's not about them. It's that you've never found a comfortable space in which to reach orgasm. That's all it is. There's a comfort aspect to it. There's a level of security that you need to get there within yourself. It's not even about your partner. It's about yourself, knowing that you can let go and relax. Which, speaking of which, there will be a future video involving how to do so in some fun ways to reach orgasm. I will be discussing that in a later video. But for right now, I want to stick to communication. So I do have a few tips for while trying to discuss to your partner what's going on. My first one is always keep yourself calm. Don't go and attack your partner because he's not doing or she's not doing what you need. I will be saying I will be kind of gearing this towards women a little bit. I'm not saying that because men can't have issues. I know that statistically women are the ones that have the most difficulty reaching satisfaction. Men, you're a little bit more physically based. I'm not being sexist. It's just you are more physically based. You are much more likely to reach conclusions without a lot of stimuli. Women need a little bit more stimuli. And there's no shame in that. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's not across the board. Some women can just go and have a great time, and that's fine. But they've already reached that comfort to do so. There are lots of people out there that aren't comfortable enough to do so. So make sure that if your partner comes to you and says something along the lines of, I'm not reaching whatever I'm supposed to get to, and they might start getting frustrated. They might come at you a little bit angry, which is why I say they shouldn't. They should stay calm and come to you calmly. But if they don't, you need to take the reins and be the calm one. You need to be the one to go, okay, let's see what we can do to fix that. And maybe you'll have to be the one to incorporate certain things or incorporate certain toys or whatever the case might be to help them get to that point. But make sure you're always open about it, that you're always willing to discuss things with them. And that if they come to you, you don't shut them down. That you don't just, I'm not good enough, I'm leaving. It doesn't work that way. It has nothing to do with you not being good enough for the partner who can't reach satisfaction. It has to do with the person who can't reach satisfaction hasn't found that level of comfort or that level of enticement to get there. And there's nothing wrong with that. If they need a little extra help, they need a little extra help. Just be happy that they're coming to you for it, that they're coming to you instead of just shutting down and being angry and then leaving because they think that's what they have to do. Just keep your communication open. If you are someone, I'm going to get a little off this topic now. If you are someone who is dealing with a kink, for example, and your partner isn't a kinkster or doesn't know your kink, then you should always come about it from a place of calm and a place of mutual respect, where it's like, I know that you aren't overly familiar with blank, but I find it very intriguing. It's something that I need. And let them know that it is just something you need. When you're dealing with a kinkster, it's not just, oh, I like that. It's, I need that to reach completion. I need that to be satisfied. So they aren't just being greedy or being unnecessarily demanding. They just need what they need as you need what you need. So make sure that if you are with someone like that and you're trying to get your kink involved, you do it in a place of peace and a place of love, where it's like, I don't want to force you to do something you don't like. I don't want to force you to feel like I'm not happy with you as is, because it has nothing to do with it. It's not that what came before wasn't good. It's that we, as a kinkster, you need something that just isn't being given. So make sure you express that in the right way. And if you don't know how, show them my video. Maybe that'll help a little bit. But otherwise, it really just comes down to being open and always making sure that everything comes from a place of mutual respect. That you are never just trying to corner your partner, that you are never trying to force their hand into something that they can't find comfort in, that they need. So make sure you always keep that open. And I think that kind of wraps this up. I do have a quick warning actually before I go. If you are in a relationship and you just can't find a way to come together, then before you wrap your hearts into something, really contemplate, is this the right relationship for you? Is this the right thing for you to do? Because you don't want to put someone in a position where they're not comfortable. You don't want to live your life never feeling satisfaction. And you really want to make sure that you're with someone that will at least be open communicationally with you. So if you're not getting that, really rethink your relationship, because you don't want to go and waste 10 years into this and then realize they're never going to change. They're always going to be this person. They're always going to be what they presented themselves to be. So don't waste both of your time trying to force something that just isn't meant to be. So on that note, I'm going to say, hope you enjoyed my video. Hope you learned something. If not, hope you enjoyed it anyway. And yeah, so have a good night, guys.